Am I far away enough to take off my mask here?
I think so.
Yeah? Okay. I'll wipe it on the stuff if you want, I promise.
That's what they all say.
So I don't really need a visual aid to talk about something like this here, but it's important we talk about the importance of medical marijuana and the positives as well as the negatives too. I'm not just going to be one-sided about this because everybody is involved in it. It's all over the place. There's no way to get around it. So I'll just go ahead and start. So medical marijuana has been around such a long time, and its uses have mostly been recreational, but until recently, the FDA approved certain states to get it medicalized, then nobody realized the actual benefits. They were just all like, oh, I'll go get a card, I'm good, I qualify, so I'll go get a card, I'll go ahead and get some marijuana, but really, smoking for the fun of it is not, I wouldn't recommend it, because that's where the negative side comes in. The positive side comes in where people who have actual disorders, people who have stuff that you can't really cope with without chemical abundance or assistance, chemical assistance. That was the word. Sometimes there's people out there who get qualified for green cards because just because they asked for it. Well, if you have disorders like anxiety, depression, insomnia, then I get it. Sometimes you just really can't help yourself, but they also create other stuff out there for that type of thing. But the disorders that I'm really trying to get at though, is things like Alzheimer's, things like Parkinson's, dystonia, things that can't really be solved with just conventional assistance. Things like that require a little bit of an extra helping hand, and that is where delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol comes in. We're talking about the cannabidiol part, because that part's where you hear about CBD gummies, CBD vapes, things that are out there like that that'll help just enough to get you out of this funk, and to help you from, going into places that would otherwise create a disease for you. However, sometimes those negative effects, they can take over. The negative effects, however, that I'm talking about are things that some people may experience, and that is where nausea, vomiting comes in. Things that just happen just because you're smoking it, and that is the reason why the FDA approved so much for you. You can't just get a green card and go buy a pound. You have to take ounces at a time. You have to, conserve that amount. You have to make sure that no matter how much you're taking, you don't get these negative side effects, because if that happens, then not many notice, but you get your green card taken away, because then you get things like acute addictiveness or addiction. And a lot of people may say that marijuana is not addictive. That is not true. Everything's addictive. Everything. And sometimes it just happens. May not happen for any good reason, but it'll be there. And what these illnesses here, what really qualifies you is any like sickness or any condition that lasts more than 3 months, 3 months at the most. And sometimes you can even count it as a terminal illness. Some doctors are creating supplements for cancer at this point. And it's really a medical marvel when you think about it, because it's just a plant, Plants, you can't really do a whole lot with plants, but the reason why I talk about the negative things too is because I can't really think of any other plant out there that is publicized or exploited, for its political or financial gains. And, you know, I see in the papers all the time, I see in the news, websites, all types of stuff. You know, policies that create, you know, create these treatments for children. That's one place that really hits me in the heart. I can really tell you that over 1 million people can think of the same thing. That the child is put up on a poster, and that poster says that cannabis can help you. Well, you're gonna turn your attention to that rather than, say, a 90-year-old woman with Parkinson's disease who can't move, can't speak, can't do anything without a cane, or even a medical assistant. Sometimes, you know, you think of other things first rather than the really important things. And yeah, some children really do have problems that can only be solved by cannabis, but they also have other treatments there. And whenever those ones don't work, then that's whenever you turn to the cannabis part. And the part that I'm talking about is the CBD part, obviously. And I do have a small video that creates a small importance about what cannabis can really do. However, it gets to a certain point where you can see both the negative and the positive in that video. And I will go ahead and describe it a little bit for you, just so that you know what I'm talking about. So here's a man with Parkinson's disease.
Hi Larry, how are you? Come in, come in. Good to see you.
You can see there's a little bit of trouble moving, a little bit of nervousness because he's never tried it.
Really? And the best way to take it is put it under your tongue and rub it in your cheek.
And this is the oil ingestion, what he's doing here.
Don't do too much, you're gonna be asleep all afternoon.
And it's part of the negative side effects.
No, don't try to communicate, just relax. See what happens.
Okay, so you can see right there, just at the start, it's getting a little nervous, a little anxious. In this part here, just this first stage, that's whenever you get the jitters, you get restless, your limbs start to move in ways that you don't really want them to move, and that's also part of Parkinson's. That's what's going to happen. Next part here is interesting.
We know from animal experiments that the endogenous cannabinoid system is very important in regulating motor activity, the very type of activity that is impaired in Parkinson's disease. From animal experiments, we also know that boosting certain branches of the endocannabinoid system is helpful in relieving symptoms of Parkinson's. Finally, from anecdotal information, we know that certain patients who smoke marijuana experience relief of their symptoms.
I think you're calmed down.
And if you notice the time frame, it was from 1:37 p.m. to 1:41
He used
p.m.
just a
That
single
wasn't
drop,
very long.
and his hands afterwards were rock steady, and the dyskinesia left.
It was too bad. It works most of the time.
Very, very big differences in what it can really do.
Did you guys eat lunch?
Oh, you want
But I am. Hi, Chef.
A person like me could really use marijuana. It makes me pretty angry that I can't get out of my home state.
The number one frustration that
So, for that Parkinson's patient, certain things can be taken away while certain things can be added. You could say, you know, hunger, alertness, sleepiness, you know, all that stuff is really a big solver, but it's also something that really causes big problems for people. And he was using only like, you know, 0.5 micrograms of, you know, what you can get for a gram or more over at a, you know, like a shop or something, wherever you get medical marijuana. And things like that can be solved, you know, just by creating more clinical experiments, things that you can really test and see for yourself. And that was just a social experiment. This man encountered marijuana in his entire life. And I'd say it worked pretty well for the first 5 minutes. Anyways, I touched up on more benefits than I could negatives because I don't really see any negative effects from marijuana other than the obvious side effects that you can really get. But I hope it was very informative, and thank you for listening.